The dog.
Okay, where are you? What are you doing?
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion May Day, the dog of the year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time best in show and two-time gamest in show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, damn to champion What a Day, champion Gus, champion Elrod, champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all outliers. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of Going Hard Kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, Going Hard Kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion May Day, the dog of the year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time best in show and two-time gamest in show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, damn to champion What a Day, champion Gus, champion Elrod, champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
What up? What up? What up? What's up? Big shout out to all my people out there in the Shark Tank. Big shout out to all my people in the Shark Tank. Bigger shout out to all my people out there on the back street. I see y'all. Y'all know what time it is. It's Talk Shit Tuesday. Give my shout outs right quick. Big shout out to Hardhead Rio in the house. What up, fam? My man, Mr. David Morris in the house. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man, having 360 in the house. What up, fam? Yo, my man, Skip Bell. I see you, fam. My man, Mr. Marcel Shepard. What up, fam? Casino Life Prayers in the house. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man, long-time supporter, Mr. Walnut Pig in the house. What up, fam? Appreciate everybody for showing up tonight. No, let's see here. Y'all know how we do this. We barely get here, but we make it. I made it. Tonight gonna be one of them quick, because we got the Thanksgiving holidays coming up. You know, you look for everybody to try to just enjoy this, because, you know, they come, this is that time of year that I used to hate, you know, Thanksgiving means Christmas. Christmas means spending money on presents and toys and shit, you know what I mean? So this is like the beginning of the madness. My wife's still trying to get me to put up the Christmas tree before Thanksgiving, because that's something we generally do. But here over the years, I've just been getting like slack with it. So I'll probably try to get it done in the last minute. Gentlemen, but some of y'all don't know what I'm saying. Let me see that. Tribo 030 in the house. What up, fam? Telly Baby. What up, fam? Welcome to the Shark Tank. Big shout out to my man, Mr. Michael Collins, representing Shreveport. I see you, fam. Yeah, this new name thing must be something new they're doing. I'm just getting aware that go to show you how much I be on here. You don't know. Hold on one second. Big shout out to my man, Mr. Don Dembry. I see you, fam. Big shout out to my man, Mr. John Dembry. What up, fam? Hooch. What up, fam? My man, Mr. Paul Johnson. What up, fam? This not J-Bo. I see you, fam. I think I got everybody caught up here. Let me see. Yes, sir. Okay. All right, tonight, I'm going to be talking about a real serious conversation. I call it All Eyes on Me. You know, this American Pit Bull community has had a lot of action these last couple, I would say the last year. They've been tightening up. Seeing people falling under the wayside due to being caught up in unlawful activity. But again, we always tell you, hey, this game is not meant for everybody. That's first things first. And then everybody who played this game in the past, and I'm speaking for my people of the past, we all knew the risk that we were taking. And a lot of guys became victims of this tragedy, I call it. You're seeing great dogs lost, whole yards lost, entire bloodlines eradicated, because this has been a movement that has always existed. But in the same token, being that the era that we lived in the time frame, remember we were around when it was just a misdemeanor situation, and we were around when things got tougher. But my point is, we all understood, I think everybody understood, you know, the risk that we were taking. And coming into this, there was just certain ways that everybody just did things. You know, seen a lot of crazy things, but it was a lot of things that, you know, people did to try to minimize the damage. But the thing you have to understand is what makes a dog man a game dog man. You know, that risk becomes part of what makes dog man on this side of the community, because it was just one of them things. I mean, it's hard for me to explain, because I couldn't tell you why we were always willing to take the risk. It's almost like being out on the street, on a corner, or you in a trap house. You know you're doing something wrong, but you ain't out there posting it all on the outside your trap house. Hey, this is a trap house, you know, cars lined up, ain't no party, but a lot of traffic. See, a lot of things that was so like a time period back in the day where you stand out on the corner, you know, be up early in the morning, late at nights, all the things that came with the illegal activity. So you try to minimize some of the stupid things that led up to why you were getting caught up. Now, I can truly say that being and seen a lot, understood a lot, because, you know, we used to always make everybody responsible for who they had with them. That was first and foremost. Y'all heard me say this, and I will repeat it being this part of the show tonight. Everybody was responsible for everybody. Everybody, when I say that, You know, you had somebody taking your phone, you had somebody, you know, patting you down, you had all that good shit going on, and it was, you know, they done it in, you know, a real professional manner. Because I think then it was more like whoever was hosting was basically responsible for everybody, and they took that kind of, you know, real serious. And it's it's crazy to me to see how we're in a time now. People treat this community like some of the things that people are doing are legal. You know, speak up openly on Facebook and go back and forth, and I can't really understand how something that is supposed to be legal is so publicized in the public as much as it is. Now, true enough, we may have had the journal, but there's a difference between the journal, which was a subscription type aspect of the game, and you really didn't know, you know, most of the people who were subscribed to the journal pretty much, you know, they were pretty much using that as their way of communication, put it like, you know. I mean, when I say communication, I'm talking about entertainment, informational communications. You didn't see anybody calling anybody out in the journal. You know, you see a lot of the stories where people have their stories of things they've seen in the past or shows that took place and things like that. Not knowing if it was true or not, because at that time it didn't matter. The people who were responsible for the journal, that was their issue, you know. And even that led to issues because people who took advantage of that were, you know, because of the community was more, I would say, a lot more tighter. How do I mean tight? Because you had your different pockets around the country. Understanding them pockets, there was not too much that could happen in the community that at some point someone somewhere could vouch for whatever was being posted. And when it became questioned, the community stepped up, whether it was through petitions or conversation that led to looking deep into what people were doing and let the community handle it. These were community issues, have always been community issues that the community had to deal with themselves. So when I seen the video of what went down in Texas and how that was like set up type of situation, it brought me back to a time in Ohio where they did a sting operation and they actually had the police, you know, set up to be going down that night. So you basically walked into a room that was already set up with cameras. Feds got everything, you know, on recording. And the person who bought them didn't know who he was actually bringing. Now, and I speak on just that situation in Ohio, because again, that was the story. They didn't know who they was dealing with, and they led to what happened. But in the same token, that story is part of public records, and you can just read the story on how it all unfolded. This Texas situation hasn't really unfolded yet because it's so recent. But just to give you an insight of what it looks like when it's all on TV, all over the internet. You know, all the questions it's asked. You know, how, who, all them things lead up to it's going to have an ending. And what's the story going to be at the end? The reason I wanted to talk about it because it's important to understand the importance of this game really ain't for everybody. The risk, I mean, true enough, we were taking risks, but when we first started, yeah, it was misdemeanor. And even then, nobody really wanted a misdemeanor. Nobody really ever wanted to see their dogs taken. And we still took things a lot more serious than, oh, it's just a misdemeanor. You know, because, you know, even though it's a misdemeanor, the possibility of losing all your dogs was always evident. And I'm only speaking this from our own experience, understanding, you know, hey, we were out there running around, always putting ourselves in that situation. Yeah, been a part of raids, seeing what it looks like, seeing the things that comes behind it, and everyone could still sit back and say, why do you do it? I can't tell you. Every man has their own reasoning why. But understanding what not having to ask why is why we talk about the biggest question is why a part of this game. See, we talk about the history, but we also try to get involved and understand what the future is going to look like. Over the 20 plus something years that we've been away from the game, you know, great dogs have still been able to be produced. The community has always been nice and strong. And it has given another avenue of looking at these dogs in a more positive light. I can appreciate that and I can see that. But it's also like, this is not new because we still had all the good things, the positive things to do back then. Out of the 400 and something thousand dog men that was supposed to be in the country back in the early 90s, as they say, over 400,000. You got to remember in 1999, it was over 1,900 matches, but then that's nowhere close to the 400,000 people that was actually, that they had actually put the number on that was part of this game. So the game, you know, the community, as far as the box community, really wasn't that big. If you really stop and think about it. They say 400,000, but it wasn't 400,000 guys out there running around climbing over the wall. Those circles was only so big and they were so, you know, tight based on the way they did and moved that it's not a matter of trying to know a lot of people, just always knowing the right people. And even then, things always did go wrong. But the community as a whole, you would have thought stood together. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Mo, and he's going to tell y'all about something back, story I think my man Barney Fife wrote back in 1990. He thought it would be interesting. Hold on. I'm going to just turn this over to him because you don't have to read it. I'll do it. And then you can pick it up from where I leave off. said you don't know how to read. Now, I'm hoping y'all can see that, right? So, all right, Mo. It's on you, bro.
Y'all can see that? Okay. 1989 was a bad year for Wildside Kennels. On April 23rd, the yard was raided by the North Carolina Law Enforcement Agency, including a SWAT team and air support. Ed Spearing and Jim Bailey were arrested on the spot, while Paul Harding and Roger Heller were arrested later at their homes. All parties arrested were convicted, but fortunately, they managed to get back all but 3 of the dogs confiscated. These 3 were destroyed by the Humane Society. Through their ordeal, they were given both moral and financial support from the many North Carolina dog men. Among them was Tom Gardner, Fat Bill, Boone, and the Cunninghams, to name a few. Excuse me. In August of 1989, Ed Spearing and the remaining dogs relocated to the North Carolina mountains and were joined in November by Chris Chisholm from Ontario, Canada. They were married on December 10th, and the rebuilding of Wildside Kennels began. Carrying on the viola tradition at Wildside Kennels. This spring, we were fortunate enough to acquire what we considered a very important old stud dog, Gardner's Patty. Patty is by Patrick's Golden Boy out of Patrick's Pinky 2. It is a proven producer of game, high ability dogs. Health problems had caused some temporary breeding problems and led to the rumor that Patty could no longer sire her litter. But we are happy to say he has been bred twice this year, and both bitches took. The original purpose of our acquiring Patty was to use him as an outcross for our Eli Snooty dogs and to breed to his granddaughter, Wildside's Juicy Lucy, but also started our endeavor towards acquiring one of the best bred yards of Tombstone Bolio dogs in existence. When we contacted Mr. Ernest J. Hollingworth of Venezuela Kennels, we were uncertain as to what to expect. We had heard tales of this tough ex-cop and his nonsense attitude towards his bulldogs and other things in his life. He calls his stock meticulously, keeping only the very best males from each litter and whatever females he needs for breeding. We knew that his bitches were not available at any price, so we hoped to acquire a good grown male. Mr. Hollingworth told us on the telephone that he wouldn't even discuss selling a dog without meeting the prospective buyer first and invited us to come see the yard. Even though it was past 5 o'clock p.m. already, we were so excited we decided to drive over the same night. It took 2 hours. It was a 2-hour drive through the mountain, further than we thought, and it was nearly dark when we finally arrived at the Kennels. As we pulled up, we were awestruck to see so many outstanding representatives of the Tombstone Bolio family, or of any other family. For that matter, Mr. Hollingworth was waiting for us at the top of the hill and greeted us in a firm but friendly manner and proceeded to give us a tour of the yard, starting with his pride and joy and the key to the success of the yard, Patrick's Lady in Red. She was an athletic, rangy, copper red bitch, and even in her advanced age and infested with cancer, she was a magnificent specimen with a first-class temperament. Besides Lady in Red was the old stud dog of the yard, Crumbs Caribou, or Paper, as Mr. Hollingworth called him. He was a well-built dog and still producing. Below these two old-timers were some 28 dogs, almost all of them children and grandchildren of Paper, Lady in Red, and Patty. Mr. Hollingworth took us through the yard from dog to dog, telling us not only the outstanding breeding on each dog, but their individual personality traits and idealistics. These dogs were in the best of health, parasite-free, and every one of them was a perfect example of a well-bred game dog. The yard was spotless. The water looked like it was changed twice a day, and the burrow setups were the best we seen. What really surprised us was that unlike most yards we visited over the years, this man was not trying to sell us a dog. Unfortunately, by the time we were halfway through the yard, it was pitch dark and virtually impossible to see the dog. Mr. Hollingworth invited us into this house where Miss Hollingworth had coffee waiting for us. We sat mesmerized for the rest of the evening as Mr. Hollingworth shared his knowledge of not only the subject of game dogs, but also of genetics and animal husbandry. We discussed the possibility of buying a grown male dog from Violate Kennels. Mr. Hollingworth said he did have one or two he might sell, but advised us to come back and view the dogs in a full daylight before we made our decision, as he would not sell a dog to someone unless he felt they were sure of what they were getting. We returned 3 days later with the crate, as we had no doubt we could find the right dog on his yard. The dog looked even more impressive in the sunlight, and we returned home with Hollingworth's look at the old Red River Curly. You know that music when I see it. Bodine, a double-bred Lady in Red male that looked and acted real good. During one of our conversations, Mr. Hollingworth had mentioned that he would consider selling us his entire kennel. due to his failing health to the right people. The more we worked with Bodine, the more the thought of owning his outstanding family of bulldogs entered our minds. After managing to work out the financial end, we approached Mr. Hollingworth, and our dream became reality when he agreed to sell us the dogs. In the days to come, we learned just what an incredible ordeal it was to move 28 grown dogs along with their chains set up, water pans, and barrels. The first thing we needed to do was borrow a cube van, which required 3 new tires before we even made the first trip and sounded as if it was preparing to self-destruct. Luckily, despite the assorted knocks, rattles, vibrations, and squeaks, along with the consistent smell of burning oil, we made the trip without any breakdowns. The weather was no picnic either, favoring us with some of the heaviest storms we've seen so far this year. Mr. Hollingworth appeared amused as he watched us slip, slither, and slide around the yard in the pouring rain. We suspect even the dogs were laughing at our unintentional comic display. Mr. Hollingworth showed genuine concern for the dogs' safe journey and knew each one so well he accurately predicted which ones were liable to get car sick and which would fight the bars or their kennels. Even though most had been born and raised at Viola Kennels and never been created. He helped us strategically arrange the dogs in the back of the truck to avoid dogs panicking or attempting to fight through the bars of their kennels. We feel his keen knowledge of each dog's temperament helped us to avoid a lot of potential problems and injuries during their journey. Although it took 5 trips, we even made 2 trips in one day at one point. There was a bit of an awkward moment after the last of the dogs was loaded up and the 3 of us looked out over the non-bearing yard with its seemingly endless circle of bare dirt where the bulldogs had been. Mr. Hollingworth said he would particularly miss the dogs. Mr. Dogs in the mornings when he used to look out the window as soon as he woke and be able to see them all. Even old Paper and Lady in Red looked a little bit lonely alone in the yard. We said our goodbyes, and after Mr. Hollingworth gave us some last-minute tips on caring for the dogs, he wished us luck, and we made the final trip home. The majority of the dogs are either directly off of Lady in Red, bred to Paper or Patty, or out of Lady in Red, bred to one of her sons. Amongst the group were 4 young dogs that Mr. Hollingworth had wisely acquired for future use as outcrosses of the same bloodline, but out of different families. One is the daughter of Lambrick's Trouble, who is brother to Lady in Red's Dam. 2 are belly mates out of Arizona Cole, a double grandson of Patrick's Bullboy Bob, bred to M&D's Pacer, Grand Champion Buck's belly sister. The last of his son of Gomez, Macho Jr., bred to a granddaughter of Macho. During the recent conversations with Pat Patrick, the subject of Maloney's dogs, the son of Macho Jr., was brought up. Pat felt that this dog had potential of becoming an important stud for us on our yard. We would like to thank Mr. Ernest Hollingworth for selling us his yard of dogs. And we also would like to thank Mr. Tom Gardner, who by allowing us to acquire Patty, instilled in us an interest in the Patrick family of dogs. Okay. Mm-hmm. No, let me see how to do that. Back here. Okay, guys, this is Wild Size Peppermint Patty. They go Gardner's Patty off of Golden Boy and Pinky. And they go Hollywood Ruby. Okay, coming down off of Patty Bread, Lady in Red, Patrick's Lady in Red. To me, the key factor in this breeding that really set the tone, was that bottom. What made Lady in Red such a factor in that line of dogs, y'all? It was not a factor in the Gardner's Patty stuff as we would like it to be. Okay, Tombstone to Red Baby was definitely a nice ass cross. Because as you can tell, Red Baby, again, is another key factor in the success of these line of dogs. Okay, so when we talk about Golden Boy, and then we compare that Golden Boy dog, being they had it at one time being Buck's father, and then we look at Lady in Red coming down off of Little Tater, which is said to be Buck's father. The combination of the factors literally almost proved itself throughout time. That we could almost tell you that Little Tater was Grand Champion Buck's father. Not only did genetics stand out, the type of dogs they were stood out. The Bill Boy Bob stuff started showing, and it was the common factor that created such a dominating line of dogs. Even when we start looking at Patrick Tater being bred down to the Anderson's Rose. Look at Anderson's Rose. Go back and look at the Anderson Rose dog. Again, what's the key factor in the Anderson Rose dog? There it goes again. Patrick's Red Baby. Okay, and that's what her being bred to Tombstone. What she created Tonka. There was a damn near all-worm litter in that line. Okay, if you go down there, look at the bottom of Anderson's Auburn. You got Jay Carver's Redneck coming off a Boomerang, double bred Boomerang. Understanding, again, Heart to Ginger, how she bred, Tombstone to Red Baby. What's the common factor in everything I keep coming up with? Who's that dog? That bitch. What was that bitch's name? Patrick Red Baby. Okay, when we start pointing out what are these factors, even though we see these great names, Tombstone, Boomerang, Tonka, okay? I'm pointing out there was a reason why those particular dogs stood out, because of that genetic pattern. There's a genetic pattern. Where do we really see it at? We see it in red baby. You're going to see it in red baby. Okay? Because you go from Bolio to the registered mare thing, and then you walking down, coming off a bitch off of Bolio, who's a registered mare, who's definitely carrying registered mare genetics. Definitely carrying registered mare genetics. If I go back and move forward from where I was, which remember I started down here at Rose, and then we can go start looking down through here. Look at Gardner's Patty. What's the key factor in Gardner's Patty? Red baby. Let's go to the top again. Red baby. You understand what I'm saying? Tombstone produced some great dogs. Let me go in here and show you what Peppermint Patty was like. First thing Peppermint Patty there, and she did produce, was that great dog, old Jodie's Red Pirate. Look at that body on that bulldog. That's the first thing I want y'all to pay attention to. That red nose and that body, the physique of these dogs. Again, I could go down through here and start pointing out stuff. Okay? Everybody be always talking about, White Golden Boy had just as much producing power as Little Tater, when that's not necessarily true. If you know how to read the pedigree and look at the factors, then why didn't Golden Boy produce like Little Tater then? Because Golden Boy didn't have no Bull Boy Bob in him. Golden Boy didn't carry much of a registered male genetic in him to do that. Just bringing that point up. Not saying he couldn't produce. But what I am saying, the factor that really was the connecting factor, and if you notice, they knew that too. Because you're going to see nothing but a lot of red baby crossing back into these dogs. Little Tater. Red nosed dog. Look at his body. Look at his body. Look at his physique. Damn it, look like Buck, don't he? Common factor, red baby. What's the major difference in the red baby that made it all stand out? I always keep telling y'all, that double bred Clausen stabber. It was that Bolio crossing into the Bud Clausen stabber stuff was the major contributing factor in what was creating match dogs. You can look at it and see it coming. Okay? But look at the body of the dog. Okay, now I'm going to go back down here and go find Lady in Red. I'll get back to him in a minute. There you go. Patrick's lady in red. Another nice red nosed bitch. Look who her father is again. We got a little tater. Little tater. Little tater's grand champion Bucks. Father. Look at the all M in little tater. Why his name keep popping up? We're still talking about red baby. We're still talking about red baby. The common factor. What else was the common factor? Double bred bolio. What made red baby such a common factor over bolio? Because red baby was a bitch. And red baby had something that the boy Bob didn't have. She had that Klaus's champion stabber. Double bred. Double bred. That's why you see the Tonka stuff. I told you I was going to come back. Now I'm going to talk about Tonka. Let's look at Tonka's siblings. Champion Tonka came out of Crumb with little mates to Crumb Cremator. Champion Crash. Champion Uptown Stubby. Snubby. And the Cremator dog was a pretty good dog too. And on top of that, don't forget that Patrick's Bony Macaroni. And if you notice, when we look at that, we say, well, Tombstone, he was the key twin. Well, let's talk about that then. Let's talk about it. Tombstone and every one of his shit, he had help. Who was his help? Who I said the common factor was? You need to see for yourself? Okay. Another pretty red dog. Patrick Tombstone. I might find me a factor. We're going to talk about Spike because he have a diabo? Okay. All right. We all know Patrick Bonnie Macaroni. There's Tonka. There's grand champion Lewis's Hope. Okay. Wilson's Crab. There goes Stubby. There's Tuffy. That's champion Tuffy. You got a macaroni dog. You got Quan Cremator. But you keep on hearing me say the same old name. Same old names. Okay, so we're going to look at Stubby and Crash and all them, but let's go look at Hope. Grand champion Hope. Mm-hmm. Lewis's Catfish. Old E. Crenshaw breeding. Okay? Old Crenshaw breeding. Double red buck coming down off of Dabo. But if you look at that Grimp dog, we're also looking at black dogs. And you already know how I feel about anything being double bred coming off of Dabo that close. You gonna be and you're gonna do something. You're gonna do something. because it wasn't a great line out there that didn't have Diabo winning. It was a sorry line. Diabo played a major part to that. Big pieces to that. There's our offspring. All she needed was 3. There was father, Bab, Ronnie. Here's 1. You got Grand Champion Hope. That's 2, but she picked up 2 points. But then she had Wilson's Tuffy. Back there during that time, that's 3 right there. That's all she needed to make her all win. But let me remind you guys that Tombstone carried a lot of that weight. Father's Bad Ronnie. Bred almost just like Cat. E. Crenshaw stuff, very prominent. And if you notice, you're looking at the way these dudes is breeding, what they doing? They stand close to what they doing. Tell me they ain't playing with their line, they line breeding. You really think they wasn't really sitting down there looking at their papers, or were they really looking at the dogs in their papers? And then you ask yourself, well, them are good breedings. They making breedings that created great dogs. But you think that when they was making them breedings, they was guaranteed any of this shit? No, they weren't. But something had them on a pattern that they were able to stick to. As long as they stuck to that pattern, because there is a formula here. There's a formula here. There is a formula here. You see it? And who was playing? Who knew it better than anybody? Oh, E. Crenshaw. And that was Bad Ronnie. So it wasn't like they made a array of dogs. You got Champion Stuffy going in there. You got Tombstone. You got Reno. You got one breeding with Bolio. That was Patrick Mariah. And then all the rest of the stuff. So there's 2 colors coming down off of Reno. You got 1 in there. But the key ones, the great dog came through was still Tombstone. And when you look at this stuff, when you were taking Tombstone crossing to anything, setting it up, I don't think he played a big factor in this. I just think that when they bred Catfish to Tombstone, it wasn't Tombstone being a major factor. I know he picking up 3 points all along the way. Not taking that away from you, but then you go take Tombstone breed the red baby, and damn, you got even a bigger explosion than you got a Catfish. They're his offsprings. You're gonna see a whole lot of Catfish or who? Red baby. Remember, these is Tombstone dogs now, right? We got the Anderson stuff coming down off of that Crumbs Cremator, Tonka, Bony Macaroni, all this stuff. What's the common factor? Red baby. What was Tombstone? It's like having Jocko in yellow. Without him, you're not going to have the same dogs. So we always throwing Jocko up in there with yellow, like Jocko was the key factor. Y'all will give Jocko that kind of love. Y'all might as well give it to Tombstone too. Because Tombstone really basically got his registered marriage off of goddamn Red Baby. Red Baby to keep factor to all this shit. All of it. She was the one that carried the registered marriage genetic code. She was. Tonka. Another red-nosed dog. Same concept. There you go. Tombstone. We look at this pedigree. Who did I tell you was the key factor? Red Baby. Why twin? Because this shit right here, what made her such a major factor than all the other Bolio dogs? That dog right there. That match dog right there. You're going to find him in all that great shit. You're still around here throwing shit. You're going to see these same names. Yeah, you might catch Tombstone, but you're going to catch him riding off a Red Baby. Not taking nothing away from the Bulldog, because Mahoney's Toot was a badass dog. And so was Spike. Yes, we give him that. But when we start talking about looking at what was the key factor and why this shit worked, the formula is going to clearly show you it was the stabber stuff crossing back to the Bolio. That cross. Old Hem Hill, that Old Family Red. That's a down there 50-50. That's an outcross. Outcrosses build battle cross dogs. That's a 50-50. Outcross build battle red dogs. This is bottom. This is battle bred dogs down here. This up here is battle bred dogs up here. Common factors. Carver's Black Shine. Bitch through battle bred built dogs. You're going to find her in all this pedigree stuff. You have to look, because we can take Carver's Black Shine and go off into a whole nother line of dogs, and I'll show you the same thing I'm showing you here. Same thing you're showing you here. There's a formula. Throw a 50-50 cross in there with that stabber stuff, that old Klaus stuff, you in a whole new ball game. Whole new ball game. There she go again. There she go again. There she go again. Factors. You don't know what you're doing? Pay attention, slow down, and really look about what I'm saying. Because y'all can always replay these videos. And in each one of these videos that I'm always showing y'all, pointing these things out, what do you see here? A whole lot of what? A whole lot of what? Okay? You don't hear me up here riding on Tombstone balls. I'm riding on my Red Baby. That's the bitch. See, what's the key factor? The cross between her and that Klaus stuff took on a whole new color. I can go back in there and start pulling up Red Baby and go pick up Lady in Red. And while I'm out there picking up Lady in Red, I'm grabbing a hold of goddamn little Tater. I'm gonna be grabbing some Buck. I'm gonna be grabbing some Hollandworth Dolly. Then I'm gonna be turning around grabbing some Hollandworth Polly. And then you're gonna start running into names like who? Mayday. Oh, that name, boy. Here we go again. How we gonna dodge a damn dog? He's up there at number 2 and 3 on the registered merit list, up there with his daddy Yellow in G. What made him so potent? Because everything in his damn pedigree was potent. From Yellow John to goddamn Patrick Red, baby. Everything in his pedigree was potent. What made Grand Champion Buck stuff so potent? Same shit. Go look over at the Galton dog. What made their stuff so potent? Same shit. Red baby. Tonka. Red baby. Major factors in these crosses. You go to these dogs, you start seeing nothing but this. Working line of dog. Not only did he have little mate, so it was not uncommon for Matty and them to come along and have two champion sisters and a male grand champion. It wasn't uncommon. It was already being done back then. Look at Tonka and his litter mates. Look at the dogs that Tonka was throwing. We have a register of male genetic pool in that line of dogs. Where else is it coming from? Because Tombstone sure as hell didn't make Red Baby no register of merit. I think it came around the other way around. Why did he breed that bad bitch to Tombstone? Because he was the breeder. He was the breeder. What was it about Tombstone that he had to breed his bitch to Tombstone? He seen something. Like you said, the mind of a breeder. Bet you that one-time winner, it must have been a bad one. Because it worked. It worked out for both of them. But we always talking about Tombstone Bolio. You ever thought the Tombstone crossed with that stuff? Like you gonna find over there in Queen, Handicap, Pandy and them? You ain't gonna find no Golden Boy and none of that shit. The Boyles dogs, rough ass dogs, how they came into the game and changed up shit. Who you gonna find in them dogs? Yeah, you gonna find Tombstone, but you better act like you remember Red Baby, because he's the common factor in all that shit. Okay? Going back up here again. I'm going to pick on Bony Macaroni.
I want to give a big shout out to my man Tyrone Tyson coming in, showing love with that two-piece. Appreciate the love, fam. Definitely appreciate the love. Big shout out to my man John Johnson in the house. What up, fam? The Rabbit Man Kennel, I see you, fam. The Mad Doctor's in the house. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man, Mr. Chico Nicholas. What up, fam? Yo, my man, Skip Bill. What up, fam?
Bony Macaroni. Bolio Cross. Coming down up of the Tombstone. Still going to have that Carver. Still going to have that. Common factor. Who? Black Widow. You keep on hearing me pointing out these dogs. Where we finding her at? We finding her real strong down in these females. Yeah, we're going to find her in Tombstone, but we're going to find her in Tombstone on the top, and then we're going to find them on the bottom too. Heavy Black Widow. You know the common factor. Why wouldn't it click? Why wouldn't I take Daisy over there to Tombstone? You know? Shit was crossing out better than the damn Dabo stuff itself. Two badass dogs, really three badass dogs in here. The Champion Handsome dog was a badass dog. The Uptown Idi Amin was another badass dog. And Champion Red Dog, he was definitely a badass dog. But here's the trick to what happened with Red Dog. It's the way they bred him. Yeah, she produced a champion, Tombstone Daisy. I mean, goddamn, when you start taking, you're already hanging out here up top with some bolio stuff. And let's not forget, we cannot forget this part right here, Black Widow. You want to go play around Sandy a little bit? Come on, let's go hang around Sandy a little bit. And look how tight bred they is. It's that old stuff, old Eli. Eli, right? Look how tight that stuff is. This stuff went off and ran off on its own way, but look why it was working. Look why it was working. Blind Billy was damn near like Black Widow in the Eli dogs. Y'all picking up on that? Blind Billy. If you go back and look at Grand Champion Art, all them dogs coming down off of those dogs. Bully Son or the whole crew. The whole crew. The better dogs, the fact is on the better dogs, they were coming down off of the Blind Billy dog. You know, and you're going to see a lot of losers in there. You cross that same Eli stuff into the Bulls dogs, you got them rough-ass dogs. You're going to find losses tattooed all over their bloodline. Yeah, you see all them little losses here, lost there, but they're going to be heavy losses because that's what Eli dogs did. You know, they were rough dogs, but you know, at some point you're going to have those battles. But it was a common factor, and it showed up even in the Boyles dogs, whether y'all believe it or not. But they could produce some match dogs. Look at that shit. Let them make the Grand Champion Art, Crenshaw Champion Hurt, Grand Sire to Grand Champion Angus, Grand Champion Mike, Champion Chinaman, Champion Moeller Jr., Champion Rasco, 2 different Champion Lukes. And who we talking about? Clayton's Eli Jr., Bully Son's little mate brother. Come on now. What's the common factor? Y'all know the common factor. We've been talking about it all night. Blind Billy. Just like we talked about the buck stuff. You know what I mean? How Red Bay was a common factor. These things that I'm pointing out, when you're trying to produce great dogs, first thing you need to do is go find what a great dog look like. When you got all these things covered, then the next thing you got to do is find out the goddamn pattern and the formula. Once you figure out what that major factor was and what you're looking at, you see it enough in all these other lines of dogs. Like you see me keep going from Red Boy to Eli to Patrick, and I'm still pulling out the factors to these dogs. I ain't just sitting here reading off the damn thing. I'm pointing shit out. I'm pointing it out. And every one of these that I'm pointing out, we see a list of winners. And we see that these dogs that I'm pointing out are major factors when you're talking about looking at something that they're doing that makes sense. The formula. Just bringing that point up to you. Now, let me get back over here to my boy, that Grand Champion Rowdy dog. Let me get back over there where he at. Okay, let's look at Grand Champion Rowdy. Yeah, they stepped out the loop, but they stayed in the loop because they went and bought something over. They added something to the pie. See, when they added the Bolio to that Eli, still, we all know the Carver stuff is continuously working with anything that they did with the Boudreaux dog. Come on. We wouldn't be having the Eli dogs that we talk about today. We're talking about the shit that created Jeep. We're talking about the shit that created Blackjack. We're talking about all them years of dogs coming down off of these lines of dogs right here. The touch between and the combination between all these dogs at one point were all injected into each other. They were searching. And all we're looking at is the results of their search. We ain't talking about all the shit that didn't work. We literally pointing out the shit that did. Why would I want to find something that didn't work? And I can spend more time showing you the shit that did. Right? Guys can get in there and they can talk about reading pedigree. You can read one, but can you explain how it worked? You guys don't start learning the major factors of what created what you're trying to have on your yard. You might be barking up the wrong tree if you can't pick them little pointers out. And that was Grand Champion Rowdy. Okay, here comes the setup though. They already starting to set it up because now we got the bolio on the top and the bottom. We already know the tune stuff was working. We knew the tune stuff was working. And we bred tune on the red baby. So we can keep on trying to put him with some more bolio stuff. What they did. Came up with another winner, Champion Red Dog. Well, what you're noticing is you ain't getting the registered mirror dogs out of these crosses. You notice that? Because there ain't no red baby in there to pass it down. Anybody pick up on that? Who'd I say was carrying the registered mirror in those dogs? She ain't in this shit. So the registered mirror trait ain't in this dog. Now you see the dogs I'm going to go down. Ain't a bunch of them. But that Yatsu Cody dog. Now let's take a look at it. Now they went and got some red baby. Now they went and got that red baby. Orange. Okay. Now I'm seeing registered merit. I'm seeing registered merit traits. Y'all paying attention now, right? Okay? I'm getting ready to drop the mic on y'all asses. Y'all know I'm getting close. I'm getting close to the end. Going somewhere everybody hates to go. But I'm going to point it out on the way so you can see that I do know what I'm talking about. You start adding that shit right there in there, you wouldn't even think nothing about Yazzie Cody. What made him such a special dog? What I'll tell you about that ROM. What I'll tell you about that ROM stuff. Huh? What I'll tell you got to go get. Look at that mountain man, Baby Lively. You better ask Snipe about that dog, pit dog. That shit run all up in Jigger and Wiley. The Wiley dog.
Jigger the Stone Killer.
Jigger the Stone Killer. Okay? Cody bred the Patrick Red Lady. Lady in Red. Oh, that's a start in itself. Why? We talked about her from the very beginning. Hollywood Dolly, Hollywood Polly. I said that registered marriage shit, right? We already know about Dolly. I'm going to save her for last. I'm going to go ahead and just get Polly out the way. Let me just go ahead and get Polly out the way. And let's look at her offspring. We can read it and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Great producer. Yeah, she definitely produced. Who was she? She was Dolly's littermate's sister. You know, and they had to correct her pedigree too because they had it wrong. They used to call her, I don't know, word red lady. But no. They had to fix her pedigree. They had to change her pedigree back to what it really was. Like they did Buck. Because in the beginning, Red Lady was not Dolly's littermate's sister. Okay? And you look at Polly, you look at Champion Twisted, and those dogs coming down off of Mayday, guess who you're going to find in there? You're going to see Polly in there. You don't see Champion Twisted on there nowhere in that pedigree, do you? No, you don't. But he got Polly in the second generation of his pedigree. Let's go look at it. Polly, offspring. Napalm, producer of some great dogs. Omiya, a producer of some great dogs. Grand Champion Hunt, Champion May. Don't want to talk about neither one of them. No, I wouldn't want to talk about neither one of them because they were killers. They were killers. You know, I only want to mention their daddy because, you know, we already know who that was. But how can I avoid the daddy? I can't even get to the daddy yet. I can't even make it to the daddy yet because I'm still on the bottom side. I'm still talking about the bitch. The key factor. We already got the registered marriage thing coming in. We already got the genetic traits. When we go add Mayday, I can go right back into Mayday. Then, you know, I'm going to start over there to yellow. I got a whole bunch of red boy and all that registered marriage all up in him. And then I'm down here dealing with the Dolly stuff, who is Polly along with it. We already got all the ROM genetics. So we know we got a genetic gene, a registered marriage in that line of dogs. Like you got a red-nosed dog, you got a registered marriage line of dogs. This is why they get the results that got them to the top. Look at Frisco, look at all these dogs that we're talking about. You're going to see there's a key factor in all of them. That register of merit genetic. It's just like having white toes on all your dogs and generations of the shit. It's the same thing with the registered merit. There is a genetic gene that has that ability to reproduce. Just a great line of dogs. Okay? You see May, you see Grand Champion Hunt. You see Latin Forces, Johnny Five, he lost one. You see Napalm, she was a great producer. She was a good producer. You'll find her in a lot of great dogs today. While I'm at it, let me go ahead and click on this bit here. What the hell I'm eating? Want to take a while, finish? I can't go. You know what I mean? Let me click on it. Why that? Why that? Because look how it's bred. See the double bred little tater? That means we're going to have red baby all up in here. We're going to have a whole lot of registered male stuff. And then we're going to look at Jeep and we're going to come to the same conclusion because, you know, Jeep is going to take us back to Lady in Red anyway. I mean, not Lady in Red, but black shine. In the Eli stuff, what we talking about Jeep? But we all know carrying a genetic gene as far as registered marriage.
We did that way back at Eli.
Yeah, we did that way back there at Eli. With that red tie, okay? Now let's take her and let's get her bred. Let's see what her offspring produced. Bam, bam, another badass dog coming down off of Mayday. Champion Twisted, the only thing out of that litter, and he got taken early. He got taken early. But look what they did. All this is all the same thing right here and right here. That's two sisters here. Profile. Both being bred back into a genetic profile of registered marriage. Bam, bam. Dog wasn't even bred a lot. He wasn't even bred a lot. Let me see, they got Twisted Nico and they got the shit. But no, it was more than that. There was definitely, it was more than that. Yeah, these dogs were pretty good dogs, but what about Max, Champion Max? What about Dum Dum? What about Champion Trina? All these are champions coming down. All down at that Twisted dog. Not just my shit. Those dogs coming down off of the dog. Okay? He didn't have but maybe 3 or 4 litters at the most. I wouldn't have to go pulling them up. To find the right Twisted dog is not going to be easy, But I'll pull up Trina. Just so we can see how she bred. Because she coming down off that red dog, one of the dogs that he got when he traded with STP for Lucane. Okay, that Deep South Champion Trina. She had a little mate brother. Champion Dum Dum. That's the little mate. Both of them were badass dogs. She's more famous for beating that 4-time winner, Big Thickest, Champion Mallory in under an hour. About 40 minutes. She was taking out a 4-time winner. This is becoming a 2-time winner. But look at her pedigree. And the smart thing about it all works out hand in hand. It all work out hand in hand when you're making those type of crosses. And then that red dog, he was in a long ass match. He won Best in Show and Gamison Show. And that was the dog that they traded, that the STP gave them as part of the trade. As part of the trade for them to get Lucane. And that's a lot to say when you bring in and you crossing Boyle's dogs. When we talking about the right Boyle's dogs into some Mayday dogs, more Patrick stuff, it still got Patrick in it. It's still going to have the Eli stuff in it. any line that you see that can carry a genetic pattern of registered merit dogs, like Clean Mary, going back in the past, and Order. Who do you see down there? Grand Champion Buck. Okay? When you start talking about the Eli dogs, like Paz and them, let's go take a closer look. Take a closer look. There's the Eli stuff. There's the Boy Bob stuff. There go the Red Baby stuff. Common factor, Dirty Mary. Yes, but who we talking about Dirty Mary when we say Dirty Mary? Red Baby. Now we got her going over here to Hank.
That's the Boyles.
Yeah, this is the Boyles. Yeah, this is the Boyles line, not the Boyles brand. This is not the Boyles brand. This is the Boyles line. That 4-way. But you see, it all carries that registered merit trait. It's the trait. If you got a trait, one thing, if you don't get nothing, you're supposed to get something that's working. Something gonna be working. Can't work unless it's in the right people's hand. Hate to see all these famous dog men with all these goddamn registered merits and all these champions and grand champions, because the only time I'm really seeing them is when they in a great dog man's hand. I don't see no newcomer coming in here. None of these breedings that I'm sitting out here showing y'all. I don't see nothing in none of these breedings that some lucky guy got a great dog and became famous as all these other guys. It didn't happen. It seemed to take real breeders and real dog men doing the dogs who was making these crosses, who was literally making these dogs. Y'all need to be paying attention to that part too, because it seems like it's always been that way. And for us to got smart enough to catch on and was doing it like Hardcore, like Stone City, like Going Hard, like Gangville, like Deep South, like STP, and everybody else that fell behind in that little thinking and attitude of understanding what they were doing to get the dogs that they were getting to be able to use the dogs that they could win with. Only the lucky ones. Hey, I could have been one of them lucky guys that, you know, I'm not no Earl Tudor. I'm not no Ronnie Boyles. I ain't no Pat Patrick. I ain't no David Tant. I ain't even Jesse. I ain't even Victor. I'm not even Hardcore Mike. But you got to put my name up there amongst all them great people. You know why? Because I did the same thing they did, and I ran across the same shit they did. And guess what? I probably didn't have as many great dogs as they did, but one thing I can say that a whole lot of y'all can't say. I got more than y'all. I got more than y'all to be able to stand there and be amongst them great dog men and say that, and ain't bragging. I'm just pointing out what I did. The same thing that they did. Because like I said, it wasn't no magic hat that somebody just popped up, or you would have seen a whole bunch of great dog men doing this. We're going through the great dogs as is in history. Can't change shit. And it just so happens you're going to keep seeing us pop up. You're going to see us popping up because we was diving in on these same lines of dogs. The guys that had Gotta Eat, played a big part. They was using Little Mayday as Kunta. That's where they got their shit from. This done never seen it work for nobody else except for them. And Super Kennels. Wasn't nothing else coming down all that shit going across into the Boyle stuff unless it has some Patrick Mayday stuff in it. Or some Stone City Red Baby in it. Throw that in there with any Red Baby, you're going to get results. Go look up the way Bratton was bred and look at the dogs that came down off of him. What's going to be them counting factors? All that registered merit? Yep. And guess what else? Guess what else? Don't forget it. Them top 5. That registered merit genetic. The registered merit genetic. Only thing that ain't in them going hard dogs is Frisco. That's it. Frisco. Everybody else from Honey Bunch to Awesome Baby to Jeep to Yellow to Grand Champion Buck to Grand Champion Mayday and all those going hard dogs. You better believe it. I'm getting ready to drop the mic, Mike. I just wanted to point these things out, guys, when everybody keeps talking about these breedings, but I don't never hear anybody. Maybe we'll start hearing anybody since I jumped in here and covered it. Maybe there's a lot of you guys out there will pick up what I'm saying, study what I'm saying, and start being able to point this out instead of going to his pedigrees and being like, well, you know, Euler was bred off of Eli 3, like we can't fucking read. Well, why did they bring Black Gold to Euler? Can you explain that? Who is the common factor in putting this shit to work? Can they explain that? We're still talking about the line of Boyle's dogs that created a lot of this stuff. Where did it come from? Red Baby, Bull Boy Bob, that registered merit genetic gene pool. Y'all start figuring that out, man. Y'all start breeding better dogs. Well, I don't know, in today's time, y'all know, y'all don't have it's real hard to find that genetic gene pool when a registered merits, when, there's not a chart out here to register. You know what I'm saying? But you'll find those dogs that are able to do that. That's why ain't no dogs that we can pull up that's in that top 5 dogs on the male or the females after almost 30 damn years that can not even join the chart of the top 5 in there. We can't even grab a dog 15 years ago to be anywhere in the top 10. This is how far off it is. So is the genetic pool still there for the registered merit? Is there a genetic pool of registered merit producing dogs today? Are you smart ones? Answer that question. Those days of those great litters like Jeep and Mayday and Yellow and all these breedings and the Boyle's dogs, the Red Boy dogs, the Rascal dogs, the Buck dogs, all that genetic pool gone to waste. Gone to waste. LTD today. Okay? We got Frisco hanging in there because we got a man out here who carrying straws that can run the next 20 damn years of some shit that we can't even begin to touch. That's why he's the only one being successful doing it. He's smart enough to go out there and get him a bunch of damn straw that he can breed for the next 10, 15 years to keep his shit under that 10. He got Frisco dogs out there that can say they got that genetic trait of producing. Yes, he does. And he can do anything he wants with it as long as he got all them damn straws. He can keep on. He's the only one that I can tell you out here today that I would bet my money on the genetic trait that was just as strong back then as it is today, as it was back then, because he's the only one that's been able to carry it by any means necessary. That means if he got to go out there and buy that champion, he's going to go buy that champion and get that champion back on his yard. He can go buy that grand champion, go get that grand champion back on his yard. And then he's going to start sucking all this shit up out of him just to freeze it up. So that gives him a genetic trait, a line of dogs that he can use for the next 15 to 20 years. There's not a Buck dog out there like that. There's not a Mayday dog out there like that. Ain't even a fucking Yellow dog anywhere like that. Not even a Red Boy dog out there like that. Not even a Jeep dog out there like that. Tom Gardner is the only one that has access to such a powerful dog like that. And I'm going to tell you one y'all sleeping on, and you start paying attention, he might creep back up in there because he's never been on the top of the registered merit list. None of his dogs has never been that potent to do that, but you better look out for Gary Hammonds. You better look out for Gary Hammonds. Because next to Tom, he's the next baddest thing walking the planet. Y'all better be starting to study his shit. It ain't Floyd no more. Those those better pay attention, better listen. While production and producing wise, Gary Hammonds ain't been asleep. He has been able to work his way through generations of dogs and still have good dogs. Maybe not the great dogs like the great Mayday here, the great Yellow, like the great Buck. But hey, look, give me that turtle who's still tripping, walking on down the road, still in the damn race compared to all the ones that jumped out there way ahead of him who ain't even finished the race. Gary Hammonds is the sleeper in the race. The day y'all start figuring out how to take his shit, and I think it would be the Frisco Hammond stuff to really take a heed onto what's ever left of what little great production and dogs is containing of those 5 great dogs, including Honey Bunch and Awesome Baby and the dogs over there on the female side. These are the things that's going to either keep the game flourishing or going to shoot the game down. But there's 2 main ones I spoke on. You do your homework. It's in the genetic makeup. You learn what I'm teaching you and what I'm telling y'all, you go look for yourself. You're going to come back and say, damn, that twin, he know his shit. I would have never thought about Gary Hammonds. One day I'm going to go ahead and start pulling up his shit. But, you know, I mean, for me to pull up his shit, I got to jump into the capsule and come up there where y'all at. And I don't like coming up here where y'all at. I don't like pointing out shit up here where y'all at. I like hanging out here on the bus. I can go out here and play with his stuff back there in my time, and then let y'all figure it out and work out over here on your time. I'll do that. Right now, I just want y'all to slurp on it right now and try to figure out what I'm talking about. For those who didn't know that. Okay, I'm dropping the mic, y'all. Thank y'all for listening. I hope I went over some things and pointed some things out. You notice I didn't beat you down with the Mayday. You notice that. You know, it was clear that it's obvious. Y'all know this. Y'all been to the show enough. Y'all done seen this dumb enough. Y'all know Mayday speaks for itself. He is on that top list with all those great dogs that we spoke on, same as Buck. And y'all already know all the common facts of that. We ain't got to keep going over that, because that's the things y'all should already know. What you really need to be understanding is the breakdown of these things and reach for these other things outside of that. So if you can pick up and catch it, then you'll know how to see it and make it work for you. Like I said, ain't no new famous names bouncing around nowhere. Ain't no new famous names on the chart nowhere. Okay? Your show, man. Thanks, everybody, man. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving, fellas. Hey, I didn't make it Friday because they had cut off my toe, y'all. Thursday, and I was in total pain Friday. I tried to hang out, but shoot, I was calling the hospital while the show was going on, trying to go up there and give me some painkiller shots because they pills was not working. So I'm glad to be able to make it here today. I went to the doctor. I got a chance to see my foot without a toe. You know, that was the first time I saw my foot without a toe, and the first time I seen it since, you know, the last time I saw it. You know, I didn't see it when they cut it off. I didn't want to see it. I didn't see it when they took it away. They said they would gonna have to send it over to biopsy, and whatever that's supposed to bring back, I'll be letting you know about that too. Broken foot and a missing toe. It was a very painful moment, but I'm feeling better. I felt like I needed to get back in here with my people, you know, and get some of this out of me. all that pain and shit. I got the scratch. I got the bump around here. I got the dragon leg, you know what I'm saying? And still take care of Bulldog. So I got to continue scratching. If I can scratch for my dog, I can scratch for y'all. You know, and I hope, you know, for a little bit of time that I give y'all these days because I'm not feeling good. And Michael tell you, it's real hard to get me to sit behind this desk. And thank God for the back street that I'm still here. With all the troubles they having, it's the back street that keeps me here. The people I don't see in the chat. It's the people that I have to come here for them because they don't want to be in the chat. But I know they out there. I know they want to hear this. I know they want to learn. So I got to give it to them even when I don't feel like continue doing this at all. I'm going to scratch for those who want to hear it as long as I can. And when I give up, I hope I didn't put out enough that all y'all got to do is keep on hitting replay because my time is coming to an end, gentlemen. I done told y'all I got these 2 more females that I got to go with. Anybody looking for some Malinois? I got a female and her mama. And they train. So, you know, once I get rid of them, my life is going to be free of dogs. And I'm going to be just moving around the country, coming to see y'all and looking at y'all shit with my notebook and my formula and my calculator. And I'm just going to enjoy life. Damn this show. Y'all can't catch me out there, then y'all better be able to hit the replay because there's enough jewels in all these videos. Enough jewels in all these videos for you guys to be able to carry these videos in the years to come. And for those who was lucky enough to really catch on and put it to work, stay free and be free, then they'll be talking about you. And then it'll be your story to tell. Because I'm going to be already hanging out with the fellas by then if I'm still here on this earth. So I thank y'all for coming. I thank y'all for listening. And then nobody had no questions to ask. Nobody had no comments. And it's usually like that. But before I leave, I'm going to make sure that Mike is going to say, okay, Mike's been pulling them up. So I guess y'all been paying attention. And I'll be missing all that. But I hope they were good comments. I'll just have to check them later. But thanks, fellas. Thanks for the inputs. And thank y'all. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving, man. And thank you guys for everybody's prayers. All y'all, man, that sent out them prayers. I got every single one of them. Thank God for you guys. I really appreciate it.
I want to give a big shout out to my man, Mr. Burning Star. I see you, fam. My man, Trevor Leahy. What up, fam? Hemi James. What up, fam? My man Hemi said Tombstone arrived on Patrick's yard with heartworms. And Patrick said he bred him about 7 to 8 times and was stud out about 5 or 6 times. That makes sense. Because it's true. Vulgar display of power. What up, fam? I see you. Want to make sure. Pit Dog. What up, fam? I got my man, Mr. Courtney Edwards in the house. What up, fam? Talk of the City Kennels. What up, though? I see you, fam. AQH20. My man, Mr. AQ Henry in the house. 2.0, I see you, fam. Let me see if I can forget anybody. Jason Clark, what up, though, fam? I see you. Hey, look, fellas. Now, as you notice at the beginning of the show, he started out with Wildside. What happened? The rebuild. You know, and if you look at the time frame, that was 1989. He made his deal with Hollingworth. I think Mayday should actually been already on the ground. Yeah, Mayday came in 93. So that move with Hollingworth getting rid of the dogs, and for some of y'all who know the story, those who don't, Crenshaw and Mr. Hollingworth, they had their dibs, and there were other people. I think California Jack had a chance to get that Mayday litter before Victor did. So it was a lot going on when Mr. Hollingworth was. I said not Crenshaw. I meant David Tant. Thanks, Mo, because I know they one of the big bad boys. But there's stories behind what Mr. Hollingworth was doing when it came down to the end. But a lot of people felt like, oh, Hollingworth, if it don't be so and so, he wouldn't have never really had shit. But that's a lie. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, because I hear so many guys talk about these dogs and don't give that man the credit that is due, simply because you just don't know. And when you don't know, it's hard for you to give roses and respect to things that you don't know. But you see the names, you see the work, but you don't really understand it enough to give the man his credit. But the results, you can't leave him out, because the results show. And as you notice, most of the things that Mo was trying to show you and tell you, some of this shit had already been done before, and the only thing that kept it going was other people, they fell into what was already working. So there's a lot of stuff, fellas, there really was no brand new nothing, that was going on when it came down to creating the dogs that we're talking about. Because if it was supposed to be brand new, we wouldn't see and understand the formula to the point to where would it have made sense at. What makes sense is that somebody done this already, and it worked. Now, how can we make it better? By doing something that was done prior to you doing what you're doing. Everybody rode that wagon. So I never felt like, and I just address things that I hear. The reasons we talk about certain dogs and dog men is always going to be based on the work involved. If they wasn't worth talking about, we really wouldn't be talking about them. So to see them and see their contribution to the community, you can't just put a significance on their role when they're part of the success of what other people were able to do. We took you all the way back to Eli. Brought you all the way up from Lady in Red to Red Lady. And you know how Mo used to feel about Tombstone? Mo always treated Tombstone like he does Jocko. Yeah, they were there, but they wasn't the major factors. But understanding why he says that, because for him and for even a lot of other guys and our kennel partners, trust and believe, fellas, it's always going to be about the bitch. That's the point that I was looking for him to kind of push, which he did. That's why I took the story, because as you know, the old man Hollingworth wasn't selling no bitches. You can get his mail, but his bitches was his prized possession. Remember that. You read it in the story. I wanted you to read that. His bitches was his prized possession, not his males. And look what other people were able to do based on his way of thinking. And I thought that was really important. And we needed that because, a lot of people have different breeding programs. And I know we can take any pedigree that's a dog worth talking about and try to diagnose it and dissect it and try to understand why this dog can do what it do. But in the true reality, you should be able to take a dog's lineage, look back, and almost know what to expect. For us, it never was like a guessing game. How are you guessing when you're already seeing it work? That part, I'm missing this idea of trying to create brand new shit. These dogs have been able to survive over years and years. Every time you look at a pedigree, and we can take you all the way back, goddamn, to Klaus. You know what I'm saying? And work our way all the way back up to our time and work through our time, then that should tell you that statement is some bullshit. And it's evident because not everybody was able to do the things that we did. That's the point. We were only doing what others that were successful that were doing. How did they become successful? They became successful by doing what somebody else had already done. Now, I don't get into, in the now or what's good or what's great or what's, how you classify all that. Because to me, all that doesn't matter. Because regardless of what you're doing with these dogs, if they accomplish whatever they accomplish based on whatever they're doing, they're always going to be talked about. This game has been around over 100 years plus. So I don't worry about the history of the American Pit Bull Terrier. I always feel like shining a new light, because if you look at a lot of our dogs look like they dogs. A lot of our dogs' bodies look like their bodies. You don't think we took confirmation into our planning? You don't think we took attitude into our equation? We tried to actually stick to what was working. If you breed it the right way, you're going to get the same response. Not everything's going to work, as you have noticed, but then you've seen a lot of these dogs that we talked about tonight that had more than one in the litter. They had litter-mate brothers and sisters that were able to do the same thing that they were doing. It always depended on which direction you went. And that's conversation just to give encouragement to the ones that are new, trying to do new things. And if you go back and pay attention to what was in the video, when we go back, we start out with black pedigrees. A winner here and there, always the winner. The ROM's going to be placed in the right direction, and everything moving forward was black until somebody else took hold of it and they made something happen on it. Then as you move forward, you start seeing the changes. And them changes, we're not talking about 1 or 2 years. We're talking about decades, 10, 20, 30 years of changing. See, this community is only strong as the people that was in it. Another one of the things that I wanted to make sure you understood is in the beginning when Wildside and them got in trouble, how they talked, he gave his shout outs to everybody who was looking out for him. That North Carolina crew. He mentioned Tom. I remember I seen Bo, a couple of other people, but I kind of see how that went, because it got a lot of guys who back in the day when things went down, the community did step up. I remember a story, I think Eli Monster was able to tell a story, how they moved all them dogs when Harry got in trouble, and Harry knew they was coming, and he had to move over 100 and something plus dogs, and how the community stepped up. that was the norm back in the day. You know, everybody, would step up or offer, is there anything I can do? Like, big shout out to my boys, the Abrahams, when the shit went down in Ramen, how he went, him and Nate and them, they took care of everybody, paid everybody's bond to get out, to go home. Man, there's so much when you're dealing with the purpose of this game from our standpoint is why we speak about it in history, because we lived in an era where things were different. Remember, we went from misdemeanor to felony to now it's federal. And you ask yourself, is it worth it? Well, the dogs are always going to be worth it. But it's about the risk. Remember, you don't have to look over your shoulders to run up a wall or run a treadmill or do a confirmation. Don't have to look over your shoulders to do that. But it's still competition. You still got to put in the work. The bloodline is always going to speak for itself. I mean, I like the buck dogs. I like the yellow, red boy dogs. I love the Eli dogs. Remember, can't say we had something against Eli dogs when if you just pay close attention, Mo tried to show you that Eli was a part of all that madness anyway. If you pay close attention to what Tom's doing, he's bringing the same thing that you're seeing that was going on way back. He's doing it right up front with the quality of dogs that you can just know that the performance is going to be there regardless of what you choose to do. The thing is, for us, we were in a time period that where we had the opportunity to be around people who were doing the work. You've seen the results of their work. You took advantage of the opportunity to have a part of that work on your yard. I want my shit to look like they shit. I want my shit to do what they shit done. As a community, I never fell short on what I felt about this American Pit Bull Terrier community. Because we was a part of it. Yeah, we one of them kind of ones you got to sit there and be thinking about, well, Twin, what was the purpose of the risk? I can't tell you. All I can say is it's the love of the game. It's a special love of the game. I think everybody has a reason to want to be their own special reasons why you want to be in these dogs. My thing is the quality of the dog is always going to be based on the work. When the quality of the dog becomes recognizable, well, you can't leave out the dog man who put that in, who put it in the work. And that's where I want to get, more involved in what I would consider the new, because I'm intrigued to see how the change is going to occur. I don't know, where gamers should matter in a confirmation show. I can't understand when you start looking at the ability, a dog's ability, ability to climb up a wall, the ability to run a treadmill. That's a whole lot different ability, looking at it from that standpoint to the, our way of looking at what ability meant for us. But then that's where it's time, the changing times come in. The basement is meant to be exactly where it was, and I will continuously say that. It's meant to be like it has always been in the basement. And you see, the basement don't look too good right now, simply because everybody treats it like it's okay. And it's not. It's not okay. But it wasn't okay for us to do it back then. But we just had just a little bit of responsibility, a little bit more of, trying to be responsible, even though a lot of them had remember we was around in the time to where your name come up like, what was the reason of raiding Floyd Yard? What was the reason of raiding Pat Patrick's yard? These were old men at the time. Why would you do that? Why would you raid Walkamall's yard? I mean, they felt that if they could cut off the head of the snake, they would, inflict a lot of damage on these type of dogs. Well, as you notice, that didn't work. But like every game, whether it got, and coming from a gangster world, when I say the gangster world, I'm talking about an underground activity. Anytime you're dealing with underground activity, it's just a different world. And you never know what people do to try to stay free. You never know. And my thing is, pay attention to your surroundings, take care of your dogs, and then really ask yourself the question, why the American Pit Bull Terrier? Because if you ain't willing to play the game the way it's supposed to be played and then play it right, if you do the crime, you got to be responsible enough to do the time. There's a lot of guys ain't built like that. History has shown us. We have a clear understanding, not just in these dogs, in every aspect of the underground world. There has been stories of people doing a crime and not ready to do the time. They just find it necessary to say they stay on next and throw everybody under the bus. That ain't nothing that's new. This is old as crime. Been around since beginning of time. My thing is, you're supposed to learn from other people's mistakes. You're also supposed to learn from other people's success. I just don't want you guys to feel like this is all brand new, because it's not. This game continued to survive through our time, and I think it will continue to survive throughout time. My thing is, the community has to pick sides. Find your role. Being on Facebook, typing the fastest and talking the loudest does not make you a dog man. It just never has been like that. Never will be like that. I think concentrating on your yard. If we didn't do anything, that's one thing we successfully did over the 20 plus years that we was in it. We really concentrated basically on what we wanted on our yard. Why? Because most of the people that we were dealing with, that's the way they handled themselves. I think if you really want to see and understand, just look at the downfall of all the ones who had yards taken, doors kicked in. You can learn from even that. So you never stop learning in this game. But I'm looking at the positive aspect, because I don't want to see none of you guys out there find yourself dealing with something that is as tragic as losing your family, losing your dogs. See, that'll weigh on you. See, my brother really never ever got over, you know, having all them dogs killed because they weren't. It's not like he was doing anything with them because he wasn't. They were all puppies. When I say puppies, we talk about 13, 14 months. To us, those are puppies. And they killed them all. It wasn't fair. And that's why I just feel like, hey, get involved in a breeding program and understand why we're always talking about it. Because it's going to take more. This is not one of them sayings where great dogs are where you find them at. I think great dogs will always be plausible if you're paying attention of what made those dogs great. Understanding what makes them great is what makes you great, what makes you successful. I'm telling you, if I had one that could run up a wall and win consistently, I would be breeding that dog, and I would make him so great that if you wanted to run up a wall, you would be over here buying one of these dogs. If I had a line of dogs that I knew had great bodies, and I stepped out there at the confirmation show, I would try to make you would know I'm coming because you know every time I showed up, I brought a one hell of a good-looking dog. That right there would speak for itself because they would be like, well, they bred like this and they bred like that, and they just great-looking dogs. That sounds like a winner because if I want a great-looking dog, why wouldn't I go to a breeder that's got great-looking dogs? They're great-looking dogs. Would I give a damn about how their attitude was? Yeah, I would, to be honest. If I'm talking about a full-fledged pit bull, there's just certain things he got to have. That body just ain't going to be enough. He got to have that heart. He's got to be willing to put in the work. So, things ain't really changed. The purpose changes, but not the dogs. The dogs become whatever we want them to be. So we need to take advantage of that, and let's keep doing what we be doing. Learning the history, enjoying the history, creating the new, being a part of what's new, and being responsible for what you have to offer to this community. Because being a part of the community, doesn't mean anything if you're not trying to support it to its full capabilities. You don't need a whole lot of people to step up. You just need the right people. And this game has always consisted of some good people. So, and I know I got a Shark Tank full of them, and a lot of viewers who would testify to that. So, as I finish out this evening, I know it's a Thanksgiving weekend. Fellas, we fixing to go into a new year, and it's fast, and I'm telling you, it's going to come around, and we're going to be into it before you know it. And all I wanted to do is share with y'all, we got a good weekend coming up. I want to give a shout out to What the Hell TV. Let me put that up there. Go out and get that APBT magazine, volume 2. My man Chico Nicholas giving that happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the family. Kerr Hunt Kennels said bitch's pride possession because he was selling a lot of decent dogs. Need the bitches to keep his business going. Well, I don't know which one you really talk about on that one, Kerr. Because I know Hollingworth, he would have never been selling his bitches if he had never got sick. You know, I think everybody kind of knew that, and maybe that's why, you know, a lot of people were like, well, Hollingworth really wasn't doing shit. But if you pay, you know, you dive in there, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. You just never seen Hollingworth in the box type shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of them guys like Pat Patrick, you know, he's a breeder. In his older age, he wasn't going to be climbing in and out of the damn box, y'all. But the man was behind a lot of great breedings. You do the breeding and let me deal with the dogs. And that's how people took it. If he was willing to let it go and we were able to do something with it, we were able to do something with it. And that's what the majority of people did that became successful. They took something that was already working and they made it their own. So, yeah, it was important to which bitch they use, what dog they use, how they were going to move forward. Remember, they would have had to have the same type of plan. If you pay attention to most of them, all of them basically were working off of the same formula. We might have been using different dogs, but the results was always going to speak for itself. If it wasn't worth shit, then guess what? We were never having nothing to talk about anyway. So it wouldn't have really mattered. But these are things that I feel like is important. These are the things I always want to bring to everybody's attention when everybody's talking about when shit what it looked like when it all goes bad. Y'all have seen enough of that for the week. Trying to bring to you what it looks like when it's all done good, when it really looks good, when you really want to have something to work forward to on a positive note. What it looks like when you want it working for you and it becomes yours. I think that's important because I think that's one of the reasons why we have them, why you love them, why you know, just having a pit bull immediately, you know, brings trouble because every time you look around, they're going to think you're doing something with the dogs, especially if you got more than one. But when you have the right purpose and doing the right thing, regardless of whatever you call it, what you consider right or wrong, I don't try to distinguish right and wrong when it comes to these dogs. It's whatever you choose to do, and whatever you choose to do is your business. So I'm never going to try to make that distinction. I'm just trying to make it clear that whatever you do, try to be the best at what you're doing. And then be able to do that, there's certain things you got to have in order. And once you understand that order, you're not going to be concerned about the next man because you're going to have too much to worry about when it comes to your own shit. And you pay close attention, this game was built on that aspect. I got my man Chico Nicholas said, Garland, have you ever were or had any Tater Black Mama blood? You know, that's another one we need to talk about one day, that Black Mamba. My man, Burning Star, you be knowing, don't you, man? You in that area, people be sleeping on Gary for years. His dog's always been good. People just go to fade of the mouth. I understand what you're saying, Vernon, because, you know, over the years, and you sit back and I can truly tell you that we're not just dumb to what's out here. It's not like you don't know what's working out here. So I think it's always been important to see, you know, what it looks like as we move off into the future of these dogs. You know, and we are, you know, we've watched Gary for many years. But then when you know something like that and you see it and you see the comeback, like we seen the rise and fall of the Eli dogs, the Boyles dogs, the Bolio dogs. I mean, we lived in a time that where we got a chance to see a lot of changes. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about those assassin dogs. That's just a whole new era of dogs, fellas. And if they wasn't worth talking about, we really literally wouldn't be talking about them. So just to show you, any and everything is possible in this game. My man Vernon said, cross this stuff to Red Boy, they produce better than Frisco. You said that. I ain't say that, but you know, I'm just saying. He cleared it up because he said, I seen it in the 80s. They were just big dogs, and people didn't like the size back then. Well, one of the things that I found funny about that, Vernon, is a lot of the dogs back then for us, they weren't big dogs. You know, that's the funny thing because we never, I mean, I think the biggest dog we had would have been Bruiser. And I think Bruiser was like a 48, 49-pound dog. So, you know, he wasn't that big 50, 60-pound dog. You know, so, and then you think about it, you know, our 45, our 42s and 44-pound dogs, they were like 55-pound dogs on the chain most of the time. You know what I mean? So do we call them? I mean, I guess we still call them big dogs. You're a 58 or no, you're a 50-pound or a 52-pounder. Yeah, it wouldn't be nothing to see you at 44, 45 pounds. That's not a big dog. You know, so it's just a matter of how people kept their yard and I think did the weight calling. There was some dogs that could, you know, they could do 45, 44, 45, and 46. They could play in them ranges because they were we journey started with big dogs anyway. You know, we got to me, you always got to know the most important thing in our day was you better make sure you're picking the right weight. And being that we learned that part early in our career, that was this mistake that we never made moving forward. Yeah, we did a lot of dumb shit, you know, like going up 7 pounds. I mean, who didn't do it? You know, when you just all in your feelings and shit. But when I'm talking about I'm not talking about judo. I'm talking about my boy Buck Rogers. You know, but that's just the dog in it sometime. Let me see here. Big shout out to old school, old family Reds. I feel you on that. My man, Kurt Hunter said, I'm saying he sold a lot of dogs in order to do it. He needed his bitches. Yeah. Old man was a different man when he got sick. A lot of things changed when old man Hollandworth got sick. You know, and it's, you know, it's funny to see how Wildside bought up the yard. But, you know, remember, it was Wildside that actually saved, you know, to me, Beeline. You know, good guys all the way around, great dog, man. You know, but if you notice the time period, where a lot of the old guys were getting out of dogs. A lot of them. Some of them would kill everything on the yard, have everything on the yard killed before they would let it get out there in the world and be abused. You know, There's a lot of stories that comes with this community. But then that's what made the dog community what it is, what it was. And then it's no different what it will be. So it's a matter of where, like I said, this game ain't meant for everybody, but I'm not here to discourage anybody. What I'm here to do is just share a little bit of history. See what part of that history is going to make you or help you become a better dog man, to be able to have better dogs, regardless of what you do, how you do it. Because just don't think that we were all doing it out of the blind. Because like you said, you very seldom seen a newcomer come in here and just shake up the game. Victor wasn't new to the game. And if you pay attention to the people he was dealing with, you know, sometimes it pays to know who you know to get the things that you were able to get. Because if it was just me knocking at some of these people's doors, I probably wouldn't have been able to get anything. But we were just lucky enough to be knocking on the right doors and know the right people and have the right contacts to be able to do a lot of the things that we were able to do. So I'm always going to be, you know, one to tell you this community wasn't built on isolation. Never. So I always took advantage of that. That's where, you know, our major rules: integrity, honor, you know, loyalty, and just respect had a lot to do with a lot of the things were done. So, fellas, I want everybody and actually to enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Thanksgiving. We're gonna be back here. We might be back here Friday. I'm not going to say for sure because I don't know what my wife got planned for the holiday except for cooking. And I don't know if I'm going to be running around eating other people's food. So, but then I'm pretty sure we're going to find some time to make it in, give y'all a little bit of the time, and then we're going to be back out for Saturday and Sunday. So y'all enjoy your weekends. Appreciate everybody for showing up, showing out. You know, but before I leave up out of here, I need y'all to help me out because JC, y'all show up to show out. But if you understand the conversation and the purpose of what we was talking about, and if anything that we said tonight could just, if it don't do nothing but perk your interest, then we've done our part. It was something we said, damn, I didn't know that. Let me go check that out. We've done our part. If it's seen something you didn't know, you'd be like, I didn't know that. We've done our part. And if we've done our part, then show me some love. Give me some goddamn thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Muscles, muscles, muscles. Now, give your damn self some roses. Roses. You need them damn roses. And the reason I say that because y'all showed up. And that deserves some roses. Now, fellas, show me some love. Show me some damn love. That, you know, help me out because, again, I need to see it because as long as I'm seeing it, I'm going to do all I can to drag my ass and my brother's ass up in here. Show me the love, and I will show you that love back. And that's just an appreciation for you guys just for even showing up. But show the love. I wouldn't care if it wasn't but one rose, one thumbs up, one muscles. But show some love because, you know, without that, then you start realizing, okay, we've done it to the point to where, you know, there's nothing else to do. And I'm pretty sure if we didn't have so much going on, fellas, I swear to you, it is hard really to do this. I mean, I'm going to take my hat off to all my YouTubers, community who get out here and put in the work that they put in, it's not as simple and easy as some people. Now, a lot of guys might have jumped out here and tried this, but you're going to realize it's not as easy as you think. I think the only reason that we really survived because we had over 20 plus something years to really talk about. I think our bulldog, career was real, very interesting. Interesting why? Because we used to be some of you guys. We used to be, total different breed of dogs. We wound up spending the majority of our life with a whole new different breed of dogs. So I can feel when I look at the young ones in the community and understand where, the road ahead of them, which direction you're going in. Big shout out to our proteges, because at one point they were young. And you sit back and like, okay, which direction they going in? Because now at this point in time, now they own solo. It's not, you have everything you need to make it work. And then to see them make it work, you can't help but appreciate it, because again, we wouldn't be talking about going hard dogs if it don't be for the work that they put in. So not everybody has that opportunity to see and understand what that feels like from our point of view, or what it feels like from their point of view. Not everybody can be Floyd Boudreaux or Pat Patrick or Earl Tudor. Not everybody's going to have a Mayday. But then there was so much more than just Mayday. As much as Mo didn't want to go back to it, but because of the dogs that led up to the Mayday situation, you have to understand, sometimes you just can't get around it, because you're talking about great dogs. And when you're talking about great dogs, you got to understand what made them great and try to figure out how come you ain't got some of this great shit on your yard. Don't feel like you're the only one that has done it when you're not. We never felt like we were the only ones doing anything. Now, true enough, we felt like we were doing something when we did Stone City Southern Kennels Cross, only due to you got two people who just didn't like each other, and we knew that personally. But again, if we felt like we can make it work, we do it our way, then let's just do it. And look, behind that came a whole lot of other dogs bred like that who created their own history. And just to be in a part of that, to me, was it was an accomplishment, because we wouldn't have been able to do that if it don't be for them, both of them two great kennels giving us great dogs. So that's nothing to hate on. That's just something to respect. You know what I'm saying? And if it wasn't worth looking into, then I don't think neither one of them kennels would have ever gotten together to do what they did. To be able to do the things that they did after the fact. So yeah. This Bulldog Games has a lot of ups and downs, lefts and rights and wrongs. But history don't stop for nobody. The future is just waiting on you to make history. It's just a part of where you're going to fall in at. Is it going to be one of the stories, or you're going to have something that you can sit back and feel proud of? Because there's a whole lot of other avenues that you can take to still achieve greatness with these dogs. Take advantage of it. Stop talking about it and start being about it. And then always, you better always, that's first and foremost, you yourself, as an American Pit Bull Terrier owner and part of this community, you better always understand you got to scratch to win. Those who don't know what that means, I don't care how many times you fall down, how many times breathing didn't work, how many times the shit didn't come out like you wanted to. Have enough in you to shake that shit off. You know what I'm saying? Clear your mouth, cool you off. Let me pull you back to the corner and come out like you just started. Because that's where success gonna come from. How many times are you willing to keep scratching? I can truly tell you, fellas, you do it enough, you will get there. Just use us as I look at us as an example. Because we really, really was trying to get there. So, and we're nothing. I mean, literally nothing compared to my other people. Big shout out to Cosmin Cal. I see you, fam. Cedric Cameron. I see you. What up, fam? Takana Mincy. I see you, fam. Welcome to the Shark Tank, man. Okay. So I've given out all my, again, appreciate all the people who come to the Shark Tank. You notice I try to make sure I get all my roses. Man, I get all my hardware out there because, you know, I like to see that blue. I like to know that when I look into that tank that, you know, everybody that's got that wrench, they here for a purpose. And you guys are the reasons why we show up to show out. You know, so thank you. Thank you very much for supporting us. Because there will be no us if it don't be for y'all. Because what other reason why would we want to sit here? I'll tell you why. Because we owe it to this same community that gave us a chance to do the things and to enjoy this part of our life. We owe them to give back the same way they gave us. We're going to give it to you, and hopefully you can take what we give to you and pass it forward. You know, and I don't know what that looks like. I mean, my way of passing it forward is something I learned from 7-8 and some of the other YouTube guys that were out here trying to do what they do, you know. And I thought it was important, you know, because we had a different type of story. Different part of the country. And we had a chance to play up north, down south. Got a chance to meet a lot of great people, do a lot of great things. And why not share it with you? Because that's what's important to the success of this game. So don't forget, the APDR show coming up in a couple weeks. I'm looking for everybody to be there. If God permits, I will be in North Carolina for the show. I'm just waiting for the advertisement to come so we can just start mass blasting it, because I am definitely looking forward to being there. I think DSK is going to be there as a judge, and I need not to even speak for them, because their reputation and their knowledge of this American Pit Bull Terrier game is at an all-time high. For those who don't know what DSK means, it means Dead Serious Kennels. Group of guys that they was really about it, have a lot of great dogs that they could talk about, have the ability to just talk about their shit alone. You know, they could go on and on and on and on, but has come up and stepping out there into that new life. He's going to be judging the dog show, so, you know, and I think that is just great to see that dog men of their caliber are willing to put in that work and support. And that means a lot for me. because that means we're not the only ones that's willing to do it. And don't find no shame in what we're doing. And big shout out to them. Big shout out to everybody who supports them. Big shout out to everybody who's putting in that work and trying to show up at the show. And if God permits, we will be there. And that's a moment that we all can get together, sit down, laugh, talk about it, because that's what I like about it anyway. Being able to meet new people, talk dogs, eat good, be around the community itself, laugh and have fun. So if you want to have some fun, I will have in the next couple of weeks here, we're going to get the advertisement and we're going to start promoting the APDR confirmation code show that's coming up. That way I have a lot more information to produce on the show. It's just I haven't had time to do it. I'm fixing to have my operation. And the way they pushing me, I might not be able to make it depending on these test results, because they're pushing me to have another operation. And I don't know if I want to be able to. I'm trying to get it in before the first of the year. I don't want to spend Christmas in the hospital, but this is what life hands us. You already see Mo's situation. And then right behind that, I got to deal with my situation. So as long as I keep showing up and showing up, I'm trying to take advantage of all of this. So y'all help me out. Give me a reason to come to North Carolina, even though I don't need one, because I'm coming any damn way. See, I got kids and then I got dogs down that way. So it don't take much for me to try to do all I can to get down there and show up. And for all those who have dogs that's willing to show up, put in the work. I'm just going to be honest with you. Just put in some work. Because I think anytime that you put in the work, your work is going to always speak for yourself. Now, if you just show up with a dog because you just wanted to show up with a dog, or even that's okay. But don't cry about shit when you don't win. Because, you're still dealing with, successful dog men who know what a good dog look like. I'm just being straight up. I heard people had to say some shit about when we were judging. Well, you got another somebody got a lot more credit than I do. A legendary, all-time legendary, dead serious Kennels. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have some people who have something to say about that too. But that's okay. I'm just giving you fair warning. So you don't have no excuses. Put in the damn work and let that speak for itself. Because that's the only where the accomplishment is going to have any kind of worthiness to it. You don't put in no work, then you shouldn't have nothing to cry about. So until then, fellas, let me rock this thing here so I can get out of here. Hold on, I see my boy, nephew. My boy, my man, I see you. I'm sorry, fam. Red Bobby, what up, fam? I'm sorry, fam. Johnny Rocket, what up, fam? Cedric, I think I seen y'all already. Awesome. Awesome Gorilla Buck in the house. I see you, fam. I hope I got everybody. I try not to miss anybody. Let me see. I like this comment that Hemi made. He said, yeah, for most, there will be more money in puppies than in stud service. If y'all really understand the importance of having the right bitch means in this game, the importance of having the right bitch in this game. See, you can go out and pay stud fee to the right dog, but at least you get to come home, your bitch is pregnant, and you get a chance to look at how many of these puppies you're going to have that comes from this fabulous breed that you made. with this right bitch. You see, that would give you a better, when you think like that, you have a better insight of when you were trying, like when we was really trying to create our own shit, why we kept everything, because you just didn't want the wrong thing to get away. So to be true to yourself, you made the point to take it all, keep it all, feed it all, groom it all, call it all. It's yours. You're responsible. Make it for whatever you want to make it. Yeah. And I know that takes a lot of work, a lot of down work. So I know that part is not easy, and anybody who's doing that deserve all the utmost respect in the world, because it is not easy being done. And for those ones who thinking you can just make certain breedings and sell it, that kind of don't last long, because you get enough of it out there and it ain't worth shit. Your puppy selling days will be over. Won't last long. Regardless of what people might say or think, the fact is you will not last. So don't take that attitude about it. Try to make something worthy and is willing to stand on his own. That's where you're going to get the publicity. That's where you're going to get the acknowledgement from. Not because of what the paper said, but based on what the dog did, what the litter did. That's why we talked about ROM, register of merit, POR. All these things matter. And they will always matter. And I'm saying that based on regardless of what you do in life with these dogs. It's always going to be the thing that's always going to show up to the forefront. You put in the work, the rest, time will take care of. So until Tuesday, let me get this rocking out and going on. Y'all stay safe and enjoy y'all Thanksgiving. I'm going to talk about what everybody had come Friday, because I really like to know, how do y'all spend your Thanksgiving? We way down here in Florida. So most of our family's up north. And then I got my big old family down in North Carolina. I can't even be there for their Thanksgiving. Cause Mo foot all messed up. So we kind of like, we're stuck around here. But that's okay. We're gonna make the best of it. But until then, man, y'all stay safe and enjoy your weekend. Hey, my music on? Can I hear it? Yeah. I'm out of here. Peace.